Love and Hip Hop Atlanta just dropped a big emotional bomb and the internet is cold. A few of you had best hang on to your wigs and waist trainers. Officially, it's in ruins. What happens if your partner makes a mistake, sends inappropriate direct messages, remains mute as the streets erupt, and then wants you to clean up the situation like a glorified public relations intern? We're talking about a Category 5 Hurricane Yandy-style detonation with receipts, emotion, and a lot of boy-bye energy. Yandy responded, "Not today, Satan." Now, tell me, how many times does a woman have to drag her man out of the fire he started before she finally explodes, and not just explodes? Mendy thought he could pull a Casper and Ghost the drama. But no, baby, this isn't a haunted house. It's love and hip-hop, and every secret eventually comes to light. So brace yourself, family, because Yandy just pulled the skeletons out of the closet, gave them microphones, and allowed them to host the reunion. This isn't just reality TV anymore. It's a public crisis, and you can be sure we have the tea, the lies, and the screenshots to prove it. Let's take a look at this messy masterpiece. Kids holding down the family name reaches her breaking point. 'Cause last night, Yandy Smith Harris didn't just talk, she exploded. And guess who was on the receiving end of that explosion? Her husband, Mendeecees. This wasn't just a cute couple argument for the cameras. It was the kind of conversation that shifts the foundation of a marriage. It was a reckoning that had been building for years. And the trigger, a voice message. A direct message, a woman. And the deafening silence from Mendeecees, while the streets, the blogs, and everyone in their mama's basement had something too. Say Yandy sat there, her eyes full of fire, her voice shaking, but not because she was weak, because she was exhausted. "Please don't ever repeat that," she said. "You can't say that people made up a story," she remarked. "Your voice is speaking to an irresponsible person you don't even know." For the sake of those in the rear, let's go back. You see, this scandal began when a woman came forward with purported voice chats, receipts, direct messages, and even claims that she had met up with Mendeecees in secret places. And one thing was certain, regardless of the veracity of the claims, the optics were a complete mess. Nowadays, the streets are seldom silent in the hip-hop and love-filled society. Yandy has been witnessing everything. Every harsh DM, every blog post, and every comment about her marriage, and her partner remained quiet. Not a video, not a post, not even a crazy tweet from you guys. Yandy didn't hold back when Mendy eventually pulled up for a face-to-face talk. She was done being his brand's babysitter, the family spokeswoman, the fixer, and the filter, she added, staring at him intently. "I don't understand why I'm always the family crisis PR team. Right now, I lack the mental capacity. To be honest, how many women are out here cleaning up messes they didn't make in order to keep their household from collapsing? That's why we felt so cold. The glue has been Yandy. However, when the pressure becomes too great, even glue dries off." Mendy tries to minimize it in his defense. According to him, 90% of the woman's claims were untrue. That he simply opened a direct message. The people simply took it and made it into a narrative. Yandy, however, would not have it. "You're not even familiar with them." She was correct. When she yelled, "It's reckless. You don't even know if they're a woman. You don't even know their background." Because even sending a direct message can open the drama's floodgates, particularly if you're married, a prominent personality, or the recipient of that direct message has a motivation and receipts. The silence is the worst part. Mendy sees that he didn't simply open the direct message. He remains silent as if it weren't his circus in Yandy, leaving Yandy to battle the entire internet alone. Once more, she was left in possession of the bag. "Nor do I owe anyone anything," Mendeecees stated. "But since the public is interested and we are public, I think it's insane to keep quiet and carry on as if nothing had changed." Yandy pleaded with him to speak up for her, the children, and their family, not for the internet. And when the blow struck the hardest, make a final statement. Take a stand, make a statement, and speak up for your family. Oh, phew. That was more than just a request in that line. It was a last-ditch effort before the thread eventually broke. Because Yandy didn't need a man who keeps quiet to avoid conflict at that particular moment. She was in need of a man who would speak up for those he cares about. Let's be honest, this has nothing to do with cheating. This relates to responsibility, duty, and the consequences of remaining silent when you're meant to be someone's guardian. Mendeecees' response: I can't sit here and try to explain myself to people that I do not know or give a damn about. I can't. Came just when it looked like things couldn't be much more emotional. It's there. It's a disconnection. Mendy may believe he is keeping his peace, but in reality, he is leaving his wife defenseless, unprotected, and alone. And that's when this conversation got to its most unadulterated, unedited point. Family. Not only was Yandy's heartbroken, but it was also scarred by bearing the image and the truth. We now understand that Yandy Smith is not a weak woman. She's experienced everything. Public criticism, family problems, business difficulties, and even watching while Mendy was imprisoned. It wasn't a wife pleading with her husband to love her. But this was the moment when she finally stated, I'm not your PR team, not your fixer, not your cleaner, not your shield from the backlash, and the energy shifted. To avoid confusion, this queen demanded that her king defend the castle. Though not at the expense of her sanity, Yandy still desires this marriage. Who can blame her for being exhausted? Imagine being faithful to a silent man when you are drowning in the spotlight. Embarrassment when others call you blind, stupid, or foolish. He remains silent as the world laughs. There is more to this than just drama. Dignity is at issue here, and Mendy realizes he must make a decision. Get stepped over or step up. And right when Yandy believed that clarity would come from the confrontation, we pick up where we left off with Quiet in this video. That was all that remained after Yandy's. Bombing your PR crew is not me. In a room already bursting with pressure, it reverberated like thunder. Mendy also notices that he didn't speak much. The weight of it soaked into him as he sat there. However, absorbing it is not the same as taking action. Yandy was aware of this, since to her, every moment of silence was treachery, rather than tranquility. Remember, this is more than simply a direct message. This relates to Yandy's years of defense. While Mendy served prison, went to trial, and battled to clear his name, she risked her reputation, brand, and emotional well-being by fighting the world. Now, the streets changed the story with a single direct message and a few audio snippets. And the man who vowed to bring her back has been silent. She reminded him again that it's irresponsible if you have no idea who they are or what they desire. And now I have to deal with this heat by myself once more. Still composed, Mendy tries to make sense of it. I didn't meet up with anyone, though. I took no action. However, this has nothing to do with whether he physically cheated. It has to do with emotional responsibility. Family, we are aware that the internet disregards facts. Optics are important to them. The optics are quite unattractive. At the moment, Yandy's statement, now I have to deal with this publicly, conveyed more than simply irritation. It was fatigue. Due to the fact that in the court, generally speaking, the woman is always held responsible for the man's silence. She had finished answering for Yandy. Let's quickly dissect this. This is what Mendy observes is not quite understood, particularly when you're in the spotlight. Perception counts, particularly if your marriage has already been strained. Online trolls aren't the only thing Yandy deals with. She is trying to preserve a name, a family, and a legacy. Furthermore, she is pleading with her partner to appear when she says that something must be spoken or done to stop the commotion, not as a businessman or a star, but as a husband. She looked him square in the eye and urged, "Speak up for your family." Mendy, however, shrugged, still not quite understanding. I own nothing and no one. For Yandy, it all came together at that same moment. Because he's approaching it as a personal decision. It's giving while she's out here presenting this as a united front. Even though I'm married, I still act like I'm living alone. And for the first time, Yandy uttered aloud something she most likely never intended to say. When both of us are being criticized, you cannot choose to remain silent. When I'm the one being dragged, you can't ignore this. In actuality, asterisk apologies were not the reason Yandy attended this discussion. She didn't want to contrive couple photos or a phony Instagram post. She came for accountability. She wants meaningful words. She listened to excuses instead of his words. I messed up. You're not alone. I got his family. I didn't do anything serious. How many ladies are all too familiar with that phrase? Like, when did the standard drop to the point where it was sufficient that I didn't cheat? Whatever happened to prioritizing keeping your partner calm? Yandy didn't mince words. I have to explain every time something like this occurs. I must cry. I must respond. You get to go on as if nothing had happened. Her voice had strength. It was more than just melancholy. Decades of loyalty were put to the test. It should remain a book. This goes beyond a single instance. This was the result of all the times Yandy had to defend Mendeecees' views without receiving the same amount of energy in return. He remained silent each time she stood 10 toes down. For what purpose? To keep his peace. No, she has to pay for that calm. I also don't think I need to justify myself to folks I don't care about when Mendeecees says it again, as it wasn't about the people. Andy's heart was sinking. She was the focus. I'm not asking you to provide the bloggers with any proof. She said, I'm asking you to stand up for me, for us. And indeed, this is the point at which a lot of relationships end, not because of adultery, but rather because of emotional desertion. Because there isn't serenity if you remain silent while the world is coming at your partner. Neglect is what that is. Furthermore, Yandy's tears weren't the result of weakness. They were the result of having too much strength. The problem with Yandy, though, is this. Despite her tears, she doesn't fold. She reminded him and all of us that there are different rules for public figures. When your life has been televised on national television for 13 seasons, you cannot just claim it as private. When your wife is being publicly humiliated as a result of your choices, you cannot claim that I owe no one anything. Do when she asked, say something. Just for once, stand up and say something for your family, looking him in the face. It wasn't a recommendation, it was difficult. It's an outline in the sand. Because Yandy cannot continue to support a house that is collapsing from the inside out. Instead of being a liability, she needs a partner. And this is crazy, family. The true narrative is this. Despite the fact that fans and websites continue to take sides and speculate, a lady who has dedicated her entire life to enhancing her guy. I'm now unsure if he will eventually arrive when it counts most. Yandy is getting impatient. Instead of being betrayed, her heart has been battered and her voice is breaking. Quiet. She gave him one last truth right when we thought she would let it go. At least quit hurting me with your silence if you can't defend me with words. Boom. That's right. The man who responded, I do, may have just showed her that he won't, which is where the moment broke. And it brings us directly to the third section, when the emotional strain becomes a pivotal point. Does Yandy leave and remain locked up? Or does Mendeecees finally stand up? The room fell silent at that moment. Yandy's eyes did not soften or blink. They remained fixed on Mendeecees' eyes. Her tone had softened, but now it carried that low, perilous truth that pierces more deeply than yelling ever could. Mendeecees sees the attempt to interrupt, mumbling something about not wanting to further the situation. You got people thinking, I'm some controlling wife who drags her husband around like a child, she added. No, you're a grown man, but you're acting like a boy who can't speak up when it matters. Yandy, however, was not going to accept that. Even worse, she sneered. What could be more annoying than having my name appear on every blog? My character asked. You sat there silently as if it didn't bother you while I doubted my motherhood. You believe we are protected by silence? You are protected, not me. Behind the scenes, producers were shaken. This was no phony, plot-driven play. This was a genuine emotion that was impossible to mimic. Everyone in the audience sensed it. Yandy was fighting for more than just the camera. She was struggling for validation, visibility, and a voice. She mentioned each and every instance in which she sacrificed everything for him, from prison visits, courtrooms, and social media criticism. For you, I've been willing to ride or die with your sentence, through the trouble in your business, through your release, through your family problems, you name it. Now, however, you go silent when it's your moment to speak out and ride for me. It was obvious from the sorrow in her voice that this had nothing to do with power or reality TV drama. This was about a woman who gave up her reputation and peace of mind for a man who couldn't even claim she wasn't deserving. Finally, Mendy looks down and tinkers with his chain. The reality was loud enough that he had nothing to say. At that point, Yandy struck him with a statement that continues to reverberate in every YouTube comment section and Twitter thread. Your PR crew is not me. Kay, I'm your wife, if that's how you still perceive me. And those words struck like a sledgehammer. Baby, it sounded nearly like a pin dropping. Every false story that had ever been written about her was shattered by the emotional weight of that moment. Because this wasn't about some clout-chasing power couple, in spite of what some people think online. Two persons were at a breaking point in this situation. One bearing the burden, the other evading responsibility. However, Yandy became emotional just when you thought it couldn't get any deeper. Her voice broke. Are you familiar with the experience of being humiliated while continuing to defend the one who is causing you pain? She inquired, as if to convince himself. Mendeecees finally replied, but it was too little, too late. I just didn't want to make the drama worse. I sit in front of cameras defending you. I teach our kids how to honor you. I smile in interviews so you don't look bad. And all I ever wanted was for you to say, that's my wife. Respect her. But you couldn't even do that. Yandy wasn't having it. You think silence is peace, but sometimes silence is betrayal. Shot back. You left me to fight battles that weren't even mine alone. And when people attacked me, you let them. The viewers were struck by the depth of her words, which went beyond gossip and rumors of cheating and instead dealt with a deeper kind of abandonment. That doesn't involve slamming doors or raising voices, but rather with silence when it matters most. The tone changed once more when she discussed their children, asking, what are we teaching our sons if their father stays silent when their mother is disrespected? Mendeecees started to look uncomfortable. But it wasn't the type of discomfort you feel from being attacked. It was the kind you feel when you finally realize you were wrong, genuinely, deeply wrong. Yandy wiped her face. She wasn't crying for sympathy. She was crying because she had finally said everything she held inside. You want peace in the house? Then you have to keep this house safe. And that includes keeping me safe. The final moments of the incident were brutally honest. There was no screaming or yelling, simply Yandy leaving with her head raised aloft, declaring, I've fulfilled my role. My only wish is that you would eventually understand that sometimes quiet speaks louder than words. And I hope you begin speaking up for the woman who has been standing up for you for years, not just for yourself. Mendy observes that he simply sat there in silence, presumably aware that this was not a plot point that could be changed to improve his image. There are no retakes in real life, and this was real life. Social media went viral right away. Both sides had supporters. Yandy had every right to criticize him, according to some. Mendy's silence was defended by others. Everyone did agree on one thing, though. It was a potent moment. Raw. And it completely rocked the Love and Hip Hop series. Cast members were even. questioning producers about the veracity of what they had just witnessed. And you know what? It was completely unrehearsed, raw, and unforgettable. A dot. Speculation erupted on blogs in the days that followed. There were rumors that Yandy and Mendeecees were getting a divorce. Others claimed that this was the turning point in their relationship. However, the truth alone, Mendeecees and Yandy are aware of what goes on behind closed doors. This is what we do know. Yandy once again demonstrated why she is more than just a reality star. She is a strong, honest, and moral woman. She also reminded everyone in attendance that it's never a reason to feel guilty about sticking up for yourself, especially when it's the most difficult. As seen by Mendy, perhaps this is what he needed to wake up to. Perhaps he will now understand that love is more than just maintaining loyalty behind closed doors. It also involves speaking up in public, particularly when the person being pulled through the mud is the woman who restrained you. As the query heard, we're all left behind. Now that the truth is out, will Mendy take the initiative? Alternatively, will Yandy eventually leave a man who only speaks up after it's too late? There is no doubt that this is not the end of the story. Perhaps this is only the beginning. And that's it, everyone. Not only did Yandy and Mendeecees complete, messy, emotional, and dramatic breakdown rock love and hip-hop Atlanta, but it also split the internet in two. Whose side are you on now? That is the true question. Was Yandy entirely correct to act in such a manner? Or was Mendeecees merely attempting to avoid the drama, in your opinion? Let's discuss it. Provide your ideas. In the comments section, this drama made you clutch your pearls, hit the like button. This tea is far too hot to keep to yourself, so share this video with your dirty reality TV pals. The next episode will be even more insane than this one, so don't forget to subscribe, sweetie. See you in the upcoming video. Keep your tea hot, your drama radar on full blast, and your ears open till then. Goodbye.